Hello everybody, I'm your host Ami Coffin, and this is your weekly Road to the White House 2016, where we take a look at the most significant and at times most bizarre developments in the race to be President of the United States. Coming up on the show, do you know that joke about the two Corinthians who go into a bar? What do British members of Parliament really think about Donald Trump? And who is making a comeback in the polls? All this and more, but first, let's get to our top 5 countdown. Let's get this show on the road and check out just a few of the impressive feats those wacky candidates managed to rack up this week. In at number 5, we have Donald Trump giving a speech at the Evangelical Liberty University on Martin Luther King Day. Now, this may not be a huge surprise to anyone, but Trump hardly mentioned Dr. King in his speech. In fact, most of his speech was about Trump. The only time he ever mentioned MLK was when he decided to dedicate his record-breaking crowd attendance to Dr. King.
I will say this, it's an honor to be here, and especially on Martin Luther King Day. We broke the record. You know, we had the record for about 3 or 4 years the last time, and the first thing I said to Jerry and Becky when I got here, did we break the record? They said, yes, you did, by quite a bit. So we'll dedicate that to Martin Luther King, a great man, and that's a little bit of an achievement, I will tell you.
Dr. King must be very thankful for that dedication and for all you do for race relations in the United States, Mr. Trump. Dr. King and that massive crowd of evangelicals are surely to be extremely impressed with your knowledge of the New Testament when you refer to 2 Corinthians as 2 Corinthians.
2 Corinthians, right? 2 Corinthians 3:17. That's the whole ballgame.
What is this 2 Corinthians stuff? Some kind of book on how to write lame jokes? 2 Corinthians walk into a bar. The 1 Corinthians says Trump is leading the polls. The 2 Corinthians says it's not funny. I'll keep my day job. At number 4, we've got that once bromance, now a bro war, between Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, the latter using some pretty nasty rhetoric.
Look, the truth is he's a nasty guy. He was so nice to me. I mean, I knew it. I was watching. I kept saying, come on, Ted, let's go, kid. But he's a nasty guy. Nobody likes him. Nobody in Congress likes him. Nobody likes him anywhere once they get to know him. He's a very, he's got an edge that's not good. You can't make deals with people like that, and it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the country. Very nasty guy.
Geez, Donald, them's fighting words. But it seems like not long ago, Trump was speaking very differently about Ted Cruz, as this ad from a Cruz Super PAC shows.
Now, one of the reasons that I like Ted Cruz so much is that he's not controversial. But the truth is, he shouldn't be controversial, because what he's doing is right. He took a stand recently, and it was a brave stand, and had he really had a little backing, it might not have ended Obamacare, but you would have really gotten a big chunk out of it. And I just watched him. I watched what he was saying, and I listened very carefully. And I don't understand the controversy. It's common sense. It's good government. It's so many good things. But he really is a special guy. He's now a very, very popular and important figure in all of our lives. So with that, I would like to introduce a very special guy, Senator Ted Cruz.
How quickly one forgets. I guess that's what happens when your buddy gets a bit too close for comfort in the polls. In at number 3, we have a moment from the rather dull Democratic debate this Sunday, where Martin O'Malley literally begs NBC moderators to give him some time to say something, anything.
I cut you off. I'll give you 30 seconds to respond on the issue of lone wolves.
Can I get 30 seconds too?
Let's do it. Secretary Clinton. We're going to get into all that coming up, but we're going to take a break. We need to take a break, and when we come back, the anger brewing in America.
Oh, Martin, you've got a great smile, but you're still polling at 2%. It's time to take that smile somewhere else, maybe out of the race. At number 2, we've got Ted Cruz, who for a good part of the week was under fire for his comments on what he called New York values during last week's GOP debate, where his attempt to take a shot at Trump totally backfires.
There are many, many wonderful, wonderful working men and women in the state of New York. But everyone understands that the values in New York City are socially liberal or pro-abortion or pro-gay marriage, focus around money and the media.
Sorry, is it just me, or was Ted Cruz talking about New York Jews? Apparently, it wasn't just me. Saturday Night Live had some similar thoughts.
You suggested Mr. Trump embodies New York values. Could you explain what you mean by that?
I think most people know exactly what New York values are. And frankly, they are not the rest of the country's values. Instead of celebrating Christmas, New Yorkers celebrate a pagan holiday called Festivus. Instead of watching American football, they challenge each other to masturbation contests. In New York, people don't say hi to their neighbors. They say, "Hello, Newman."
Sounds like you're describing the TV show Seinfeld. Is that what you mean by New York values?
Believe me, if I could say liberal Jews, I would.
I'll bet he would. I'll bet Cruz would say so much more than he actually could. That's what scares me. And at number 1, we have a wonderful moment from the British Parliament conducting a very heated debate on whether to ban Donald Trump from entering the UK. The unusual discussion was triggered by a petition signed by more than 500,000 people calling for him to be barred from Britain after he said Muslims should not be allowed to enter the United States. Pay attention to the language.
Bring him here. Let us have the opportunity to challenge him and let him go home with his tail between his legs and recognise that the principles he espoused no longer reflect this country, the United States of America, or the aspirations that we should all seek to promote.
His policy to close borders, if he is elected as president, is bonkers. And if he met one or two of my constituents in one of the many excellent pubs in my constituency, then they may well tell him that he is a wazzock.
Okay, so I had to look up wazzock. Apparently, it originated in northern England and, according to Urban Dictionary, means an idiot or daft person. By the way, I can think of more than one wazzock in this campaign. It's time for our focus stories of the week. Let's start with the GOP, where Trump has gotten one of his biggest endorsements yet, conservative icon Governor Sarah Palin of Alaska, at a pretty important time just before the Iowa caucuses.
I would like to bring up, if I might, Governor Sarah Palin.
Tonight, Sarah Palin is back.
Are you ready to make America great again?
Shaking up the Republican race with just 13 days to go before the Iowa caucuses.
And are you ready to stump for Trump? You ready for a commander-in-chief who will let our warriors do their job and go kick ISIS? Not a politician. Can I get a hallelujah? Doggone right we're angry, justifiably so.
The two former reality show stars have been close for years. Palin sitting down for New York pizza with Trump in 2011 as she pondered her own run for the White House.
How about a Trump-Palin ticket?
That sounds exciting.
Trump recently appearing on Palin's talk show where she sang his praises.
And this is a movement, the Trumpeters, Trumpservatives, these are what these folks are called. Everything about Donald Trump's campaign, it's avant-garde, and he is crushing it in the polls.
Her endorsement now coming at a pivotal point for Trump as Senator Ted Cruz and others attack his, quote, New York values.
Mr. Trump, both Rush Limbaugh and Senator Ted Cruz are warning voters you may not be a real conservative. What do you say to that?
Well, I am a real conservative, and Russia has been terrific to me.
Now Trump is counting on Palin to rally Republican skeptics, especially key evangelical voters. Trump's big win today, a big blow to Cruz. When he ran for Senate, Palin was one of his biggest supporters.
You know what? She can pick winners. Let me tell you something. I would not be in the U.S. Senate today if it were not for Governor Sarah Palin.
In New Hampshire today, Cruz trying not to sound disappointed.
So regardless of what Sarah decides to do in 2016, I will always remain a big, big fan of Sarah Palin.
But his bad day was about to get worse. Another surprise announcement. Iowa's Republican governor, Terry Branstad, declaring he wants Cruz to lose the caucuses.
I believe that would be a big mistake for Iowa to support him. And I know he's ahead in the polls, but the only poll that counts is the one they take on caucus night.
Did you see that Palin speech? Some real gems in there, like the suicide belt of political correctness, whatever that means. One may assume that Clinton camp is secretly hoping Trump adds Palin to the ticket if he clinches this nomination, because that would be a dynamic duo they would surely crush. Off to the Democrats, where it seems the Clinton campaign is starting to panic over the recent polls, particularly those showing a statistical tie in Iowa.
Hillary Clinton, especially with a new poll showing Bernie Sanders with his biggest lead yet in New Hampshire. Today, Bill Clinton right there assessing the damage.
We're on a home field disadvantage here.
The implication? Sanders from neighboring Vermont has a leg up in the Granite State.
You've been good to me. You've been good to our family. I trust you.
In a new ad, Hillary Clinton today highlighting her experience.
The Secretary of State who stood up for America and stared down hostile leaders around the world is the one candidate for president who has everything it takes to do every part of the job.
But Sanders says experience isn't everything. The candidate who promised to run a positive campaign now says this.
Experience is important. Dick Cheney had a lot of experience.
In the homestretch, Clinton hoping to capitalize on President Obama's popularity with the Democratic base, writing a personal essay.
It ain't a show without our social media moment of the week. Let's stick with this week's Democratic debate and how two Republicans responded, as Republicans usually do during Democratic debates, on Twitter. First, Donald Trump's reaction. Can you hear that? Yep, that is the sound of silence. Trump's Twitter account, usually bursting with vitriol during Democratic debates, said nothing, absolutely nada, during the whole Democratic debate. You tell me what that means. On the other hand, the somewhat dull Rand Paul, or if you will, bland Rand, actually showed his funny side. Check out just a few of his tweets. Hillary Clinton is giving Barack Obama a big hug right now in the Democratic debate. Chris Christie is getting jealous. This one isn't bad either. I agree with Martin O'Malley again. What Hillary Clinton just said is not true. They could just put that under her on the screen all night. And how about this one? Bernie Sanders just bragged about getting a D- grade, and he wants to fix education. Only problem is, Sanders was bragging about getting a bad grade from the NRA. He's actually happy about that, Dr. Paul. Let's get ready to rumble. It is poll time. Just a quick look at the races on state and national levels. First, some national polls. On the GOP side, the latest poll from NBC Wall Street Journal has Trump leading 33-20 over Ted Cruz. The Real Clear Politics poll average gives Trump a slightly larger lead of over 15 points. On the Democrat side, a new Monmouth national poll gives Hillary Clinton a 15-point lead over Bernie Sanders, 52-37. The Real Clear Politics poll average isn't that much different, giving Clinton a 13.2-point lead over Sanders. More importantly, let's take a look at what's going on at the state level. The latest polls show a statistical tie in Iowa between Cruz and Trump and between Clinton and Sanders. But probably the most interesting polls this week came out from South Carolina and Florida, where we're seeing some momentum finally from Jeb Bush, overtaking Marco Rubio to get into third place in both those states. We're also seeing a very surprising surge in New Hampshire, where Ohio Governor John Kasich is in second place, trailing Trump by only 7 points, 27-20. I guess that's why Kasich just anointed himself the Prince of Light and Hope, as he says. But one can only wonder, is this the beginning of a comeback for Bush and Kasich? We'll have to wait and see. It's time for the Coffin Critique, but this week I'm handing the mic over to our own I-24 news editor, Charles B. Blazer, for his take on what's going on in the Clinton campaign. Take it away, Charles.
Hillary Clinton's campaign appears headed in the wrong direction. She's fallen into a statistical tie with Bernie Sanders in Iowa, where the first ballots of the presidential primary are set to be cast. Sanders also now seems firmly in control of New Hampshire, with a new CNN poll showing him ahead by nearly 30 points. While Clinton maintains a double-digit lead in national polls, Sanders has the momentum and continues to close the gap. If you're feeling like this is déjà vu, you're right. In 2008, Clinton was considered a slam dunk to win the Democratic nomination and was way out in front at this exact point in the race. Then, collapse. And who swooped in to win Iowa? Barack Obama. In fact, Hillary is dropping in the polls at a faster rate than she did back then. Could it happen again? Certainly, although Sanders still has his work cut out for him. Either way, Clinton has a problem. During the latest debate, the top trending question on Google about her was, will Hillary Clinton be prosecuted? For her chief competitor, why is Bernie Sanders so popular? She needs to buck this trend if she intends on being the first woman standing come convention time.
That's it for this week. Next week is the last week before state primary voting begins. Will the recent Bush surge in Florida and South Carolina spread to other states? Will the Clinton campaign lose any more points to Sanders before the caucuses? And will Donald Trump's next joke be about two Thessalonians? Join us next time when we'll run with them down that road to the White House 2016. Bye-bye.